All right, I think we need to talk about the situation hanging over the Detroit Tigers right now because whether people want to admit it or not, this Skubal contract situation is starting to feel more uncomfortable by the day. And it's really creating a narrative that the organization probably didn't intend on. For months now, there's been this quiet tension around Skubal and his future in Detroit. And the longer this drags on, the louder the speculation gets. Tarik Skubal is obviously not just another arm in the rotation. He is the face of the pitching staff in Detroit. Cy Young level talent when healthy, and the clearest proof that the rebuild has actually produced something real. And so when you have a player like that, silence doesn't feel neutral anymore. It starts to feel a little bit like avoidance. And from the outside, I think it's easy to say this looks bad on the Tigers. I know a lot of people have been kind of coming after the Tigers because fans are wired to expect that when you finally develop an ace. I mean, you lock him up early and you make him a cornerstone. That's what smart organizations do. And we've seen it happen across Major League Baseball with other teams, other players. That's what winning franchises signal to their fan bases. And that's what Detroit has been promising they're building towards. And so when Skubal's name keeps coming up with no extension, no progress, no clear direction, it continues to create the impression that the Tigers are either hesitant, cautious to a fault, cheap, still operating like a small market team, scared of committing big money. I mean, I think those are all reasonable things for fans to start thinking. But I got to tell you, I've been sitting with this a lot lately. And I think where the conversation needs to slow down, because while it may look bad on the Tigers, I'm not sure how guilty they are in this. I mean, I know that they have some guilt, but where it's gotten to now, with neither side agreeing, that's not just on the Tigers. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, that doesn't automatically make this just their fault. And it definitely doesn't mean that Tarik Skubal isn't doing anything wrong either. I mean, let's be honest about the player side about this. Skubal does have every reason in the world to be patient. I'm not, nobody's questioning his skill. Nobody's saying he doesn't deserve to get paid. He's coming off an elite performance. He knows the market for frontline starting pitching is exploding. And he also knows that one more dominant season could add tens of millions of dollars to his value. And so if you're his agent, your literal job is to maximize leverage, not comfort the fan base, not protect the optics for the front office, and not rush into a deal just because people on sports radio, like myself, are getting restless. And so dragging this out, if that's what's going on, it's not sabotage, it's strategy. And pitchers with Skubal's profile don't grow on trees, obviously. But once you sign an extension, you give up optionality. You give up the chance to reset the market, leverage. You don't have any control anymore. And so from a pure business standpoint, I get it. I get it. Waiting makes sense, especially if you believe that the Tigers will eventually have to come to you with a bigger number rather than the other way around. I totally understand his position. And on the Tiger side, this is where the optics problem really kicks in, because Detroit has spent years asking fans to be patient, to trust them, trust a rebuild, to believe that when the time comes, they'll spend to keep their own. They have said that. And then Scotty Harris basically walked that back later, said no player's untouchable. And in this situation, that's testing all of those promises, because Skubal represents the first true test of that. This isn't a fringe player. It's not a bullpen arm. This isn't a let's see how it goes contract. Maybe it'll work out. This is a franchise-defining decision. And the longer it sits unresolved, the more it invites doubt. And the Tigers have been getting the stone's throw of this for the most part. And so I think that fans might need to start asking some uncomfortable questions. Are the Tigers willing to actually pay market value for elite talent, or are they hoping lightning strikes twice with cost-controlled arms? Are they trying to buy out years at a discount? Are they prepared to compete with the reality of modern Major League Baseball contracts? I hope so. And maybe most importantly, do they see Skubal as a long-term anchor? I don't know that they do anymore. Or is he an asset that they're content to ride until it gets expensive and then we're out? I mean, that's why this situation feels like it's dragging the Tigers out in public. Not because Skubal is saying anything, not because there's drama leaking into the media, which it is, by the way, but because silence itself becomes the story when expectations are high between the two parties. Every passing month without a resolution here adds pressure. And pressure turns into narrative and people saying things and articles and reporting. But here's the key question that keeps getting glossed over. And I'm going to put it out in front and center because I've talked about Skubal's side enough. Should this be Tarik Skubal's fault? And honestly, I think the answer is probably not. Players don't owe teams' hometown discounts. They don't owe fans early extensions. They don't owe loyalty before the organization shows it in writing. I've heard some people say if he wanted to be here, he should just take X. I get that. That's a good point, honestly. But on the other end of that coin is this. Skubal has already given Detroit his best years physically. The guy's rehabbed injuries. He's dominated when healthy. And he's put himself in a position to cash in. If he and his agent believe waiting is the smartest move, that's not greed. That's professionalism. At the same time, that doesn't take the Tigers off the hook either. Two things can be true at once. Skubal can be right to wait, and the Tigers can still look unprepared for the moment they've been building toward. Great organizations anticipate these crossroads. They don't let them linger. They don't let uncertainty define their best player. They either make a strong, decisive offer, or they accept that they're choosing risk and they live with the consequences. Because here's the real danger for Detroit. The longer this goes unresolved, the harder it gets to sell the future. If Skubal reaches a point where free agency feels inevitable, then every move the Tigers make gets filtered through that lens. Every win feels temporary. Every loss feels magnified. And suddenly, the rebuild narrative shifts from we're building something sustainable to we're hoping things go our way. And that's not where you want to be when you're trying to convince fans, free agents, and even your own clubhouse that the window is opening. Because Tarik Skubal isn't just a pitcher. He is a symbol. He is the proof point. And symbols matter in sports more than front offices like to admit. So if this does end up being a standoff, if it drags into the season, if we get to that place where arbitration, you name it, or even beyond it, the blame shouldn't be lazily assigned to just one side. This is a high-stakes negotiation between a player who knows his value and an organization that needs to prove its ambition. Now, it's uncomfortable. That tension is uncomfortable, but it's also inevitable when talent and timing collide. And the Tigers still have control over how this ends. They can choose clarity over caution. They can. It's not too late for that. They can choose to send a message that says, that's our guy, and we're not going to blink. Or they can let the market dictate the next chapter and accept the risk that comes with that approach. But one thing is clear right now. If this situation continues to drift without direction, the longer it goes, the more it stops being about Tarik Skubal, the pitcher, and starts being about what the Detroit Tigers really are as an organization. And that's the part of the story that should have everybody paying attention, because it's going to be a sign of things to come, just as much as it's a part of what's going on now. Keep it locked. You're listening to Midnight Sports Detroit.